The warning sirens across Europa Station wailed just moments before the first Kraxan warships emerged from hyperspace. Dr. Sarah Chen looked up from her quantum mechanics research, her heart pounding as emergency lights bathed her laboratory in pulsing red. Through the reinforced windows, she watched as three massive vessels materialized against the backdrop of Jupiter's swirling storms. All non-essential personnel to shelter zones immediately, the station AI announced with unsettling calm. This is not a drill. Sarah's hands trembled as she initiated emergency backup of her research data. After 15 years of studying quantum field manipulation in the relative peace of Europa Station, humanity's first contact with alien life was happening in the worst possible way. Commander David Torres's voice cut through the chaos on the emergency channel. Attention all personnel. 3 unidentified vessels have entered Jupiter space. They're not responding to hails and their weapon systems are hot. Defense platforms are engaging. The station's defensive turrets opened fire, their conventional plasma bolts splashing harmlessly against the alien ship shields. Sarah watched in horror as one of the vessels casually returned fire, its beam weapon cutting through Europa Station's outer defense ring like it was paper. But something about that weapon caught her attention. The way it interacted with the station's shields wasn't just destructive. It was impossible according to everything she knew about quantum mechanics. Unless she rushed to her quantum field scanner, redirecting its sensors toward the alien ships. The data that streamed across her screen confirmed her suspicions. The Kraxan weapons weren't just powerful, they were fundamentally flawed in their approach to quantum field manipulation. Commander Torres, she called over the emergency channel. This is Dr. Chen. I need access to the station's main deflector array. Right now. Kind of busy, Doctor. Torres replied as another blast rocked the station. Their weapons have a quantum-level vulnerability. Give me 10 minutes with the deflector array, and I can prove it. A pause, filled only by the sound of alarms and distant explosions. You have 5 minutes. Sarah's fingers flew across her console, redirecting power from the station's deflector array into her quantum field manipulator. The theory had been part of her research for years, using precisely tuned quantum pulses to create localized areas of altered physical constants. She'd never imagined her first practical test would be in combat. Incoming fire, someone shouted over the channel. Just 30 more seconds, Sarah muttered, making final adjustments to the frequency. The Kraxan beam weapon lanced out again, heading straight for the station's core. But this time, it met something new. As the beam passed through Sarah's quantum field, it didn't just stop. It reflected back on itself, amplified by its own quantum instability. The effect was spectacular. The reflected beam caught the Kraxan ship squarely in its own weapons port. Cascading energy reactions rippled across its hull as its own attack, twisted and amplified by the quantum field, tore through its shields like they weren't even there. What just happened? Commander Torres demanded. Sarah allowed herself a small smile despite the situation. Their quantum weapon tech is actually fairly primitive. They're brute-forcing their way through space-time without accounting for quantum field resonance. I just turned that against them. The remaining Kraxan ships hung motionless for several long moments, as if processing this unexpected development. Then, without warning, they vanished back into hyperspace, leaving their damaged companion drifting dead in space. Within hours, Earth Defense Command had received full reports of the incident. Within days, Sarah found herself reassigned to a new classified project on Luna, with virtually unlimited resources and a clear mandate: turn her quantum field manipulation technology into humanity's shield against the alien threat. As she packed up her lab on Europa Station, Sarah paused to look at the disabled Kraxan vessel being towed away by Earth defense ships. The aliens had clearly expected an easy conquest of what they assumed to be a primitive species. Instead, they'd learned a harsh lesson about underestimating human ingenuity. But Sarah knew this was just the beginning. The Kraxan would be back, and next time they wouldn't underestimate humanity. She had to be ready. They all had to be ready. Looking at her quantum field equations one last time before encrypting them, she realized that her life's work had just become humanity's best hope for survival. The Kraxan had unwittingly given her the key to understanding their technological weaknesses. Now it was up to her to turn that knowledge into a shield for Earth and its colonies. As she boarded the transport for Luna, Sarah couldn't help but feel a mix of fear and excitement. Humanity had just been thrust onto the galactic stage in the worst possible way, but they weren't going down without a fight. And thanks to her discovery, they had a fighting chance. The quantum pulse technology she glimpsed in that brief battle would change everything. She just hoped they had enough time to develop it before the Kraxan returned in force. 3 months after the Europa Station incident, the Lunar Quantum Research Facility hummed with activity 200 meters beneath the moon's surface. Dr. Sarah Chen stood before a wall of holographic displays, watching as another quantum pulse test fired within the heavily shielded chamber below. The pulse, invisible to the naked eye, but blindingly bright on her quantum sensors, struck the salvaged Kraxan shield array. For a fraction of a second, the alien shield technology flared to life, then collapsed completely as the quantum pulse created a localized disruption in the underlying physical constants the shield relied upon. Test sequence 17 successful, announced Dr. James Rodriguez, Sarah's chief assistant. Shield penetration achieved in 0.47 seconds, complete failure at 0.82 seconds. Sarah nodded, making notes on her tablet. Better, but still not good enough. In a real combat situation, we need penetration in under 0.3 seconds. The Kraxan won't give us time for anything slower. The facility had been constructed with unprecedented speed after the Europa incident, carved out of the lunar bedrock, and shielded with every countermeasure Earth's military could devise. On paper, it was listed as a deep storage facility. In reality, it was humanity's crash program to develop the quantum pulse technology into a viable defense system. Captain Maya Potil entered the control room, her Earth Defense Force uniform crisp, despite the long hours everyone was pulling. Dr. Chen, we've just received new intel. Our long-range sensors detected Kraxan scout ships at the edge of the Kuiper Belt. They're being careful, staying just out of conventional detection range, but they're definitely mapping our system. Sarah's hands tightened on her tablet. How long? Intelligence estimates 2 months, maybe 3, before they launch a full invasion. They're methodical, gathering data, probably analyzing what went wrong at Europa Station. Through the observation window, technicians were already preparing the next test shot. The quantum pulse generator, roughly the size of a small car, represented the culmination of Sarah's life's work, refined and weaponized in ways she'd never imagined. Show her the other data, James suggested to Maya. The captain nodded grimly. Long-range scans suggest they're modifying their shield systems. They may have figured out some of what you did to them at Europa. Sarah actually smiled at this, surprising both Maya and James. Good. That means they're thinking exactly the way we predicted. The quantum reflection effect they saw at Europa Station was just the tip of the iceberg, a side effect of a much more fundamental flaw in their approach to quantum mechanics. She pulled up a new set of equations on the main display. They think we got lucky, found a specific frequency that interfered with their shields, so they're adjusting their shield frequencies, adding redundancies. But they don't understand that their whole approach is fundamentally flawed. The equations shifted, showing wave patterns that seem to twist in impossible ways. Their entire technological base relies on brute forcing their way through quantum fields. It works impressively well, actually. But it's like building a skyscraper without understanding gravity. You can do it through trial and error, but you'll always be vulnerable to someone who truly understands the underlying principles. Maya studied the equations, though much of the advanced physics was beyond her military training, and you understand these principles better every day. Sarah brought up footage from the Europa incident. What they saw there was just me reflecting their own quantum field back at them. But now, She gestured to the test chamber below. Now we're learning to create our own quantum fields, to fundamentally alter the physical constants their technology relies on. When we're done, their shields might as well be tissue paper. A junior technician rushed into the control room. Dr. Chen, the results from the microsingularity tests just came in. You're going to want to see this. Sarah pulled up the new data and her eyes widened. The tests had involved using precisely controlled microsingularities to focus and direct the quantum pulses. The results showed an efficiency increase of over 300%. Start reconfiguring the main generator, she ordered. I want the new focusing system installed and ready for testing within 48 hours. As the control room burst into activity, Maya pulled Sarah aside. The Defense Council is meeting next week. They'll want a progress report. What should I tell them? Sarah looked through the observation window at her team working below. Brilliant minds from every field, working together, with a sense of purpose she'd never seen before. The Kraxan thought they were dealing with primitives, barely worth their notice. They had no idea what humanity was capable of when pushed. Tell them we'll be ready, she said firmly. The Kraxan think they're being clever, methodically preparing for their invasion. But every day they wait is another day we learn more about their technology, another day we perfect our countermeasures. She turned to Maya with determination in her eyes. When they come back, they'll find out that humanity doesn't just adapt to new technology. We master it, improve it, and turn it back against anyone who threatens us. The quantum pulse weapons will be ready, and so will we. Maya nodded, impressed as always by the scientist's confidence. As she left the control room, she heard Sarah already diving back into work, directing the installation of the new focusing system. The captain smiled to herself. The Kraxan had no idea what they were walking into, and that was exactly how Earth wanted it. The Kraxan invasion fleet dropped out of hyperspace near Saturn's rings exactly as Earth's intelligence predicted. 37 warships, including 3 massive dreadnoughts, their hulls gleaming with a metallic purple that seemed to absorb light itself. Admiral Helena Reyes stood on the bridge of the EDF Artemis, watching the tactical display with outward calm. Only the slight tightening of her hands behind her back betrayed her tension. Humanity's entire defense strategy rested on the quantum pulse weapons, and they were about to face their first real combat test. All ships report ready, Admiral, announced her tactical officer, Lieutenant James Wong. Quantum pulse systems are charged and targeting solutions are locked. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at a secondary console, monitoring the weapon's power signatures. She'd insisted on being present for this battle, despite the risks. The quantum field generators are stable, she reported. All focusing arrays are aligned within optimal parameters. The Kraxan fleet moved with confident precision, spreading out into an attack formation. Their action showed no concern about potential resistance. They clearly believed their modified shields would protect them from whatever trick humanity had used at Europa Station. Priority targets are locked, James announced. The dreadnought's shield frequencies are cycling exactly as predicted. Helena allowed herself a small smile. They think they've solved the problem by adding more shield layers and randomizing frequencies. Dr. Chen, would you like to show them their mistake? Sarah nodded, her fingers dancing across her console as she made final adjustments to the quantum pulse targeting algorithms. Ready on your command, Admiral. The Kraxan fleet had nearly reached Saturn's innermost moon, their weapons charged, preparing to launch their first strike against what they assumed would be primitive orbital defenses. All ships, Helena's voice was steady as steel. Execute attack pattern Chen Alpha. Fire when ready. 12 Earth ships, hidden within Saturn's rings, emerged simultaneously. Their conventional weapons remained silent. Instead, focused beams of quantum energy lanced out across space, each one precisely tuned to create localized areas of altered physical constants. The effect was instantaneous and devastating. The Kraxan's multi-layered shields, designed to resist conventional energy weapons, might as well have been trying to hold back a tsunami with a paper wall. The quantum pulses didn't just penetrate their defenses, they fundamentally altered the space the shields existed in, causing them to collapse from within. Direct hits on all primary targets, James reported, his voice tight with controlled excitement. Enemy shields are failing across their entire fleet. On her console, Sarah watched the quantum field readings with intense satisfaction. The focusing arrays are performing even better than our simulations predicted. Their shield modifications are actually making things worse for them. The more complex their quantum field matrices, the more vulnerable they are to our disruption effect. 3 Kraxan ships exploded as their shield generators overloaded, unable to handle the quantum field disruptions. The others began to break formation, clearly shocked by the complete failure of their defensive systems. They're attempting to regroup, James reported. 2 dreadnoughts are moving to protect the third. Helena nodded. Just as we expected. All ships. Execute attack pattern Chen Beta. The Earth fleet split into 3 groups, each targeting a different section of the Kraxan fleet. The quantum pulse weapons fired again, this time using a rotating frequency pattern Sarah had developed specifically to prevent the Kraxan from adapting. Enemy fleet is in disarray, James announced. They're trying to modify their shield frequencies, but nothing they do is working. Sarah allowed herself a moment of professional pride. Of course it's not working. They're still trying to solve this like a conventional energy weapon problem. They don't understand that we're not attacking their shields. We're changing the fundamental rules their technology operates under. The battle turned into a rout. Without their shields, the Kraxan ship's armor proved vulnerable to conventional weapons. Earth's fleet pressed their advantage, combining quantum pulse strikes with traditional armaments in a devastating display of coordinated warfare. The dreadnoughts are attempting to retreat, James reported. Their hyperspace drives are spooling up. Helena's voice cut through the chaos of battle. Not this time. All ships, concentrate quantum pulse fire on their drive signatures. Don't let them escape to warn their empire. The coordinated strike caught the massive ships just as they attempted to jump to hyperspace. The quantum pulses disrupted not just their shields, but the very fabric of their hyperspace fields. 2 dreadnoughts exploded spectacularly as their drive systems catastrophically failed. The third managed only a partial jump, reappearing moments later as a twisted wreck of metal. As the remaining Kraxan ships either surrendered or were destroyed, Helena turned to Sarah. Remarkable work, Doctor. Your quantum pulse weapons just changed the face of space warfare. Sarah was already studying the battle data, her mind racing with potential improvements. This was just the beginning. Now that we've seen them perform in actual combat, I can start working on refinements. The micro-singularity focusing system still has room for optimization, and if we can reduce the power requirements. Helena held up a hand, smiling. Save some improvements for the next battle, Doctor. For now, let's appreciate this victory. Humanity just proved we're not anyone's easy conquest. As damage reports and casualty figures began coming in, Sarah looked out at the debris field that had once been a Kraxan invasion fleet. The victory was decisive, but she knew this was just the first battle in what would likely be a long war. The Kraxan Empire wouldn't take this defeat lightly. But humanity was ready. They'd taken alien technology that had terrorized countless species, understood it on a fundamental level, and developed a perfect counter to it. Whatever came next, Earth would face it not as primitive victims, but as equals who had earned their place among the stars. The diplomatic chamber aboard Earth's new space station, Unity, hummed with activity as representatives from 7 different alien species gathered for an unprecedented meeting. Dr. Sarah Chen watched from her position near Admiral Helena Reyes as the various delegates settled into their positions around the crystalline conference table. The Vardeshi delegation caught her attention first. Tall, ethereal beings with iridescent skin that seemed to shift colors with their emotions. Their civilization had suffered under Kraxan dominion for centuries before the news of humanity's victory sparked their successful rebellion. The Kraxan Empire has recalled forces from 17 systems. announced Zaril, the Vardashi Prime speaker, his skin rippling with determined blues and greens. They're gathering for a massive counteroffensive. Our intelligence suggests they're modifying their entire fleet with new quantum field technology. Admiral Rice nodded grimly. Our deep space sensors confirm massive fleet movements. They're not just coming to punish Earth now. They're trying to crush this rebellion before it spreads further. The Meridian representative, a being that looked like a sophisticated arrangement of crystalline structures, generated a holographic display in the center of the table. We've analyzed the quantum pulse technology you shared with us. Remarkable. You didn't just defeat their shields. You fundamentally understood them in ways the Kraxan themselves never did. Sarah stepped forward. That's why we called this meeting. Each of your species has suffered under Kraxan oppression, and each of you has unique technological and scientific expertise. We believe that by combining our knowledge, we can develop defenses that will end their tyranny permanently. The Meridian's crystals chimed thoughtfully. Our phase shift technology, combined with your quantum pulse systems. Exactly, Sarah confirmed. And the Vardashi's hyperspace navigation expertise, the Tulari's energy matrix innovations. Together, we can create something entirely new. A darker voice cut through the discussion. Pretty words, growled Kexri, the scared veteran representing the Jagari clans. His species resembled Earth's extinct raptors, and their hit-and-run tactics had been a thorn in the Kraxan side for generations. But the Kraxan don't just have technology. They have numbers. Even with your quantum pulse weapons, they can overwhelm us with sheer force. Perhaps, Helena acknowledged, if we fight them the way they expect. But humanity didn't win our first battle through superior numbers. We won because we approached the problem differently. And now, with all of our species working together, we can do even more. Over the next several hours, the delegates shared intelligence, technological specifications, and battle strategies. Sarah found herself deeply impressed by the scientific achievements each species had developed in secret while under Kraxan rule. The Tulari had perfected energy storage systems far beyond anything humanity had imagined. The Meridians understood crystal computing at a level that made Earth's quantum computers look primitive. We've established research teams on Luna, Sarah explained, bringing up schematics of the expanded facility. With your help, we can improve the quantum pulse technology far beyond its current capabilities. But more importantly, we can develop entirely new defensive systems by combining all of our technological approaches. The Vardashi Prime speaker's skin shifted to decisive purple. The Kraxan's greatest weakness has always been their arrogance. They believe their technology is superior simply because it has worked for so long. They never imagined their subjects would not only understand it but improve upon it. Admiral Rice stood, her presence commanding attention. Humanity is the newest spacefaring species in this room. We don't pretend to have all the answers, but we've proven that a fresh perspective, combined with determination and ingenuity, can overcome even the most established advantages. Together, we can do more than just defeat the Kraxan. We can create a new order in this sector of space, one based on cooperation and mutual respect. The Meridian's crystals pulsed with agreement. Our scientists are already eager to work with Dr. Chen's team. The theoretical implications of your quantum pulse technology suggest possibilities we never considered. As the meeting continued, Sarah found herself deep in technical discussions with scientists from each species. The Tulari energy expert showed her designs for a power system that could double the efficiency of the quantum pulse weapons. A Meridian crystal tech specialist proposed ways to use their computing systems to achieve previously impossible targeting precision. But it was a quiet comment from the Jagari representative that truly captured the magnitude of what was happening. For centuries, Kexri rumbled, the Kraxan kept us isolated, afraid to trust each other. Now, in trying to crush your world, they've given us all something we never had before, hope and allies worthy of trust. Later, as the delegates departed to begin implementing their plans, Helena found Sarah in her temporary lab aboard Unity Station. The scientist was already deep in calculations, incorporating the new ideas from their allies. Quite a change from studying quantum mechanics on Europa Station, Helena observed. Sarah looked up, smiling. I never imagined my research would lead to this, but seeing all these brilliant minds working together, combining technologies and ideas in ways nobody has ever tried before. She gestured to her equations. We're not just developing weapons anymore. We're laying the groundwork for technological advances that could benefit all our species. The Kraxan wanted to keep everyone divided and subservient. Helena agreed. Instead, they united us. And when they come with their massive fleet, they'll find something they've never faced before. Multiple species working together, each contributing their unique strengths to a common cause. Through the lab's window, Sarah watched ships from their various allies departing, heading out to spread the word and begin the vital work of preparation. The Kraxan were coming, yes, but they had no idea what they would be facing. Humanity's quantum pulse weapons had been just the beginning. What they were creating now would change the galaxy forever. The combined fleet of the allied species waited in the shadow of a massive gas giant, 18 light-years from Earth. Over 200 ships representing 7 different civilizations, each modified with humanity's quantum pulse technology and enhanced by the unique innovations of their various creators. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at her station aboard the flagship Artemis, surrounded by holographic displays showing the status of the fleet's integrated defense systems. Next to her, a Meridian crystal tech expert monitored the enhanced targeting computers, while a Tulare engineer managed their revolutionary new power distribution network. Kraxan fleet detected, announced Lieutenant Wang. Multiple hyperspace signatures. There, by the stars. Over 500 ships. Admiral Helena Reyes showed no reaction to the overwhelming numbers. Status of the quantum net. Ready, Sarah confirmed, checking the readings from the vast network of quantum field generators they'd positioned throughout the system. The technology had evolved far beyond simple weapons, thanks to the combined expertise of their allies. The Vardeshi navigators have the hyperspace anchor points locked. The Meridian crystal arrays are synchronized. The massive Kraxan armada dropped out of hyperspace in perfect attack formation. Their ships had been modified, their hulls now covered in complex arrays of quantum field generators, their attempt to counter the weapons that had humbled them before. They still don't understand, the Meridian crystal tech commented, its structures chiming with what Sarah had learned was amusement. They think this is about matching technology. Helena's voice carried across the bridge. All ships, execute Operation Unity. Phase 1, commence. The Allied fleet split into predetermined groups, each led by commanders who had spent months training together, learning to combine their different tactical doctrines into something entirely new. The Jaguari's hit-and-run expertise, Vardeshi precision, Meridian calculation, and human adaptability had created a fighting force unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. The Kraxan fleet launched their first attack, massive energy weapons firing in coordination. But they were firing at empty space. The Tulare's advanced sensor scramblers had filled their targeting systems with false readings. Phase 2, Helena ordered calmly. Sarah activated the quantum net. Across the star system, hundreds of quantum field generators spun to life, their effects amplified and controlled by Meridian crystal computers. The very fabric of space-time began to shift and twist in precise, calculated patterns. The Kraxan fleet's formation began to break as their ships struggled against the changing physical constants. Their modified shields, designed to resist quantum pulse weapons, were worse than useless. Their complexity made them more vulnerable to the sophisticated manipulation of space-time itself. Their flagship is adapting, Wang reported. They're attempting to synchronize their quantum fields to counter the effect. Sarah allowed herself a grim smile. Exactly as predicted. Phase 3. The Allied fleet struck from multiple vectors, their weapons guided by targeting systems that combine Meridian crystal computing with Vardeshi spatial awareness. Quantum pulse beams, enhanced by Tulare power systems, lanced out with perfect precision. But these weren't the simple weapons that had won the first battle. The combined research of 7 species had created something new. Beams that didn't just disrupt shields but temporarily rewrote the laws of physics in precisely calculated ways. The effect on the Kraxan fleet was catastrophic. Ships found themselves in spaces where their engines couldn't function, where energy weapons backfired, where matter itself behaved according to different rules. The massive fleet began to break apart, their rigid military doctrine useless against an enemy that fought in ways they couldn't comprehend. Their flagship is attempting an emergency hyperspace jump, Wong announced. Not this time, Helena said firmly. Execute Phase 4. The Vardishi navigators activated their hyperspace anchor points, synchronized with the quantum net. The Kraxan flagship's attempt to jump failed spectacularly as it encountered physics it was never designed to handle. Open a channel to their flagship, Helena ordered. The main screen flickered to life, showing the Kraxan High Commander, a massive figure in ornate armor, his expression a mixture of rage and disbelief. This is Admiral Helena Reyes of the Allied Species Defense Force. Your fleet is trapped and your weapons are useless. Surrender now, and we will spare your crews. Impossible, the Kraxan commander snarled. We are the supreme power in this sector. Our technology is based on fundamental misunderstandings that you've never bothered to correct. Sarah interrupted, stepping into view. Your empire's technological superiority was built on arrogance and brute force. We didn't just copy your technology. We understood it, improved it, and then moved beyond it entirely. The battle ended not with a dramatic final explosion, but with the unprecedented sight of the Kraxan fleet surrendering. As Allied ships moved to secure the captured vessels, Sarah found herself looking at the sensor readings with a scientist's fascination. The quantum net is stable, she reported. We could maintain these altered space-time conditions indefinitely. Helena nodded. The beginning of a new age, Doctor. The Kraxan Empire maintained power by keeping species isolated, dependent on their technology. We've proven there's a better way. In the days that followed, news of the Kraxan Empire's defeat spread across the galaxy. More species reached out to the Alliance, sharing their own technological innovations, seeking to join what was quickly becoming a new interstellar federation. Sarah found herself working with an ever-expanding team of scientists from dozens of species, each bringing new perspectives to their understanding of the universe. The quantum manipulation technology that had started as a defensive weapon was being adapted for peaceful purposes, revolutionary power generation, faster than light travel, even terraforming applications. Humanity's greatest contribution wasn't the quantum pulse technology itself, she explained to a group of alien scientists months later. It was the reminder that progress comes from cooperation, from combining different perspectives and approaches. The Kraxan thought they were superior because they had the most powerful technology. We proved that true strength comes from understanding, innovation, and working together. As she looked out at the gathered beings, former enemies now colleagues and friends, Sarah couldn't help but smile. Humanity had faced its first interstellar crisis, not by becoming conquerors themselves, but by leading the way to something better. They had changed the face of warfare not to destroy, but to create a lasting peace. The stars themselves seemed brighter now, full of possibilities that no single species could achieve alone. The age of empire was over. The age of cooperation had begun.